Let's look at an older application that we saw early on called My Magic 8 Ball. And in this application, we declared 8 different variables. And in each of these variables, we stored a different string. First one has go for it. The second one has no way, Jose, and so on. Then we declared another variable called question, and we used the input function to ask the user for an input, which was this. After getting the input from the user, we use the print function to print shaking on the screen. So if we were to run this, the screen would show shaking 4 times. This is how the sprint function would show shaking. After that, we declared another variable called choice, and using the function random radian, we asked the program to select any one of these choices from 1 to 8. We then used if and else functions. We then declared another variable called choice, and we used the random radin function and asked the computer to select a value from 1 to 8. So the computer is now selecting any random value from 1 to 8. If the computer selected the value of 1, we know we're going to print out the answer 1, which we saw above that answer 1 has go for it stored. Similarly, if the computer decided to choose number 2, then we would print out answer number 2. Similarly, if the computer ever decided to print choice as 5, we're going to print out the answer at answer 5, which was, it would be madness to do that. And for every different choice that the computer could select, we correspond that with the answer given above. And finally, at the end, we print out the answer. So let's say the computer selected choice is equals to 4. And then we would print out the answer at answer 4. Now, using the print function, we would print out answer number 4. And what was answer number 4? 4 said, fear of the unknown is what imprisons me. So this statement would then be printed out when the computer chose the value of 4. But this is a very complicated example. In order to store 8 different strings, we're declaring 8 different variables. Now, when we're doing programming, we always have to look at an optimal way of doing things, which take the shortest amount of time. Now, a much faster way of doing this would be by using tuples. Now, we already know a tuple can store different data types, which can be strings, integers, or floats. And a tuple can store multiple values inside one single tuple, which is a data type. So let's declare a tuple call it answers. In this answer, we can store 8 different strings within the same tuple. And we know that every single value will be separated by a comma. So we declare our first string, we call it go for it. Then we use a comma, and then we go on to the next string. So in this way, we store 8 different values inside the single tuple that we first declared called answers. Then we're going to go and do the same step. We're going to print welcome to my magic ball. We're going to then do the same thing and declare a variable called question, in which we're going to take an input from the user called ask me for advice, then press enter to shake me. So the screen is going to show this, and we're going to ask the user to enter any advice that they're looking for. The same principle above, we're going to declare another variable called choice. And how is that choice going to work? The computer itself is going to select any value from 0 to 7, whichever one it wants. And how do we do that? This random function is used to do so. After selecting any value, we're going to print value that was selected. Now, how did this work? We already know that in order to access different values in a tuple, we use indexing. So what do you think is going to be the printout this is selected? Let's go and check it above. So the index value of the first one, as we know, is index at 0. Second one would be index at 1. Third is index at 2. This is index at 3. This one at 4. This one at 5. This is index at 6. And the last one will be index at 7. So if we were to select answer at index 6, what is going to be printed on the screen? Value inside the tuple is going to be printed. Makes no difference to me, do or don't, whatever. Now let's say the answer that the number that the computer chose was 5. So the tuple which will be printed will be answer at index 5. And what was the answer at index 5? The value stored was you can save mankind.